Hola, bon dia, Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal show. So, bon dia, alegria to you. A few people have checked in already. Lovely to see how, well, ahead of time you are, Francis Joel. Your message on the screen there. Excellent. Hello, good morning. Often here before me, which is fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. B and L Chase, bon dia. Do Moraria. Forgive me if I haven't pronounced that correctly. However, Evil Carl... I should read these first before I share them with you. Evil Carl, that's me, discontinued the wine club and the expat man cave just before my arrival last Monday. Bitterness ensues. Oh dear, that's not the sort of positive feedback we're used to here. But I think it's all meant in jest. But maybe I will check my brakes before I go out in the car. Later on this week. Morning to you, B&L Chase. No hard feelings. Jim White, bon dia to you, Jim, in Baltimore, in the US. How are you? 4 a.m. there, I believe. Morning all from... See, this is the man who's taken over the man cave. Expat Man Cave Reloaded with Andy Gilchrist. All is not lost. These things will return or be reborn in other forms. BNL Chase. I'm hastily trying to make good here. Jacqueline CDM, bon dia todos from the Silver Coast. Jeff Jackson, hola, bon dia todos as well. A few more hellos to say. We'll come back to those. Thank you, everybody. This morning, we're talking about money and gin. I mean, that's a perfect show, isn't it, for some people? Sarah Davey from Spartan FX will be here in just a moment. I think she knows a thing or two about whiskey and gin, I think. And staycations, which we'll kick off with. But I also want to let you know that the fire in Monchique is under control, and got an amazing picture from there. We have, what is this? A new feature. What is this object? I put it on Facebook earlier on. I got some very silly answers. Honestly, there are some very silly people around, aren't there? Hazarding a guess as to what that is. Found on the street with my boy, 9 years of age. He wants to know what it is. Can we help with that? I'll come back to that a bit later on. Gin. Sorry, no, not gin. This is on my brain now, isn't it? Wine featuring boars. Thank you for that picture, Paul. I'll try and get that on the screen as well. Very kind of you to taunt me with a bottle of wine that you were enjoying with a wild boar on the front. Ticks a number of boxes there. So let's bring Sarah Davey onto the screen now from Spartan FX. Good morning to you, Sarah. Fresh back from your staycation. How are you?
Morning, I'm good, thank you. Nice and relaxed from holiday now.
Where you been?
To Scotland, actually.
Okay.
Sunny Scotland. So we're having some nice weather, which is lovely.
So it was sunny, was it?
Yes, it was. I mean, we normally stay on the west coast. I think, as I was saying to you before, that we're quite lucky that it's on the Gulf Stream. So actually, they do get nice weather, which I know that often isn't associated with Scotland, but the weather was lovely. It was hot, and we're actually having hot weather here actually in the UK. It's sort of 29 at the moment, so
yes,
good.
So much so, I believe I was listening to the news, your British news this morning, that people are having to be told how to cope with the hot weather, and there was an official weather warning. Kind of sounds a bit nanny state to me, but I thought fair enough. We don't want people suffering, but there are warnings afoot, aren't there, about the extreme weather, the temperatures in the UK at the moment.
Yes, because we're not used to it. We complain it's always too cold, and then when it's too hot, we complain again. But we're not used to it, and because we haven't had as much hot weather this summer so far, everyone's desperate for it. So I think people sort of go to the extreme and get burnt or heat exhaustion or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And chucking themselves into the nearest water they can find. Be careful. Be careful out there, folks, in the UK. We're a bit more used to it, actually, here in Portugal. That said, it's very overcast and strange weather for a July so far. But anyway, yeah, tell us a little bit more, if you will, about your staycation. I know this is Good Morning Portugal rather than Good Morning Scotland, but a lot of American, Canadian, well, people from all over the rest of the world might like to know a little bit more about Scotland and the wonderful holiday opportunities there, which, of course, if they get a D7 visa, they have access to all of the Schengen countries. I'm not sure how that's going to work out with the UK. With the UK post Brexit, but presumably it shouldn't be too difficult to go to Scotland and have a look. What specifically attracted you there, and what did you enjoy?
Well, I come from the north of England originally, so it's always been close on the doorstep anyway. But it's beautiful up there. People get the chance to go. The scenery is lovely. There's a lot of history up there. I think where we were, there's a lovely sort of hotel, Nottingham Lodge, that Eisenhower visited with Churchill to plan the D-Day landing. So there's a lot, obviously a lot of other history. There's certainly a lot of sports, sort of, if you're into golf, a lot of some sort of places up there. The Open is played. So you've got St Andrews on the east coast. Good for fishing. A lot of locks up there. And if you're into whiskey and gin, it's very good as well. Certainly whiskey, but a lot of the distilleries now have started making gin because obviously it's quicker to make. But they're lovely.
We have a wonderful guest talking about gin made in Portugal after you depart from our show today. So looking forward to that. Stay tuned for Portuguese gin production. And enough about Scotland. Let's return to Portugal now. And the business of money changing hands and changing currencies. Sarah Davey, of course, from Spartan FX. And there is a link to the company in the comments on the screen now. If you want to find out what we think is a great way to exchange money. And we've got a couple of anecdotes from you, haven't we? The shocking story of how somebody wanted to exchange some money. They're an American person. They came to Portugal to conclude a deal, and they have to return to their branch in America. Is that right? To do the necessary.
Absolutely. So I think I've touched on it a few times before with the webinar about sort of thinking about, when you're in your home country, you can make payments, it's fine, you're there. But then when you actually move to Portugal, thinking about, have you done enough to make sure you can move your money out of the country? And you're right, we've had a customer recently who was American. And we believe for him specifically, the bank, what he needed is an international card reader, which he can apply for very easily in branch. But he didn't do that. He wasn't aware. I don't know if it's for every US bank, for example, but some do need that. But he wasn't aware. So now that he's over in Portugal, he can't move his money. So there's a couple of things. One, since he's been over in Portugal, the rates moved against him. So he's actually sort of lost money with the rate movements. And the bank want him to, they sort of say, well, next time you're in America, come into your branch. So obviously that's going to be expensive to fly back. So all in all, it's an expensive mistake for this guy, unfortunately.
Indeed. Oh dear, that's awful to hear, isn't it? Were you able to salvage things a little bit then?
Unfortunately, it's still a case of whether he uses us or not, it's sort of moving that money out is become very difficult. Fortunately for him, he is going to be going back, but it's just sort of, we're dealing with a lot of customers in a similar situation to your members. So whatever we learn from our customers, we always sort of pass that information on to our customers. So do always investigate what you need to do before you leave the country. Do you have to apply for anything? Do you have to sign? Often it's just a case of signing a document, especially when you're making large transfers. It may be that smaller ones are fine, but if you're making large transfers, that's where they need obviously more authorization, and that's where they often say, can you come into branch? So make sure if there's any documentation that you need to sign beforehand, that you do that. The other thing as well, which is quite good, is that often I think on that paper you might need to put a beneficiary account details, which you might not have if you've not opened a bank account yet in Portugal. But if you open an account with Spartan FX, which is free to do and no obligation to use us, we'll give you your own account details. So you'll have them and you can pop them on that form. So again, it just makes that a little bit easier. The other thing as well is that when you do move, if you are doing online banking, your online bank might have a limit on how much you can do each day. So just bear in mind if you've got any deadlines. So if you were purchasing a property and you've got a deadline to meet, sometimes you might find that the limit's like 10,000, 20,000. So you're going to be making transfers, every day for like 2 weeks, possibly, which is not a problem. But obviously just bear that sort of thing in mind. And maybe start. I always say to people, it's never too soon to be thinking about international payments, even if it's not high on your priority of what you're doing at this time at the moment. The main thing is actually looking to move country, but it is worth bearing in mind that actually what's happening with the rate at the moment, is it easy actually to move that money before you actually leave the country? Has your online banking got a limit? Actually, do you want to be making a transfer every day for 2 weeks for that property purchase when you're in Portugal?
Not really.
Move my money before I left, possibly. Everybody's situation is different, but it's always worthwhile speaking to us. It's free to speak to us, have a chat with us and see what we can do. And it just, our main goal, we've got two main goals. One is to save you money, and the other one is just to make your life easier when it comes to international payments. One less hassle when you're moving country. And it may be that by moving your money beforehand, even if you've not thought about it, actually might be your easier option, or certainly maybe from a rate perspective, it might be good. I mean, certainly at the moment for sort of if you're selling US dollar, it's the best levels since April.
Yes, could you tell us what the rates are? Because I always find it exciting when you come on the show and give us a bit of a peek into what's going on with the currency. So
so I thought I'd just give sort of an update, because obviously the rates are moving all the time. So the second I quote something, that's been and gone.
History, yes.
Sort of listening back to that, but certainly for selling US dollar, it's the best time we've seen since April against sterling and euro, and that's on the back of the speculation that the Fed will raise interest rates to tackle rising inflation. So it's nice to have a little bit of different news from COVID. If you're based in the UK, we have benefited from speculation that the Bank of England will raise interest rates in the near future as well. But unfortunately for the UK, we still have some coronavirus issues, as far as they are still sort of expecting that we might see some increased infection rates. We're not quite sure how that's going to obviously impact the economy, and obviously at the moment we're having this sort of issue of people being forced to self-isolate with the sort of track and trace, which is affecting sort of businesses. So there's still a bit of uncertainty at our end. We've had sort of, as they call, Freedom Day yesterday. And then if you're in Canada, we did see some positive news over the weekend. Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates reached an agreement to revise sort of production quotas, which they'll come into effect next year. But there's still a bit of uncertainty, and they lost ground on the oil prices. So that was a bit of a negative for the Canadian dollar. So I know that there's lots of other countries where people are based. Do speak to us, and we can keep you keep regular contact with you and keep you updated on any currency pairings that you need that I haven't covered, and we can go into that in more detail. As I said, the rates are constantly moving, but we can certainly give you guidance and help you navigate that, definitely.
Tremendous. And you can do that in person. We often laugh about ringing Ben up in the middle of the night, don't we? But this is a great improvement on having only online service that some banks and other organizations rely on now. The personal service at Spartan FX.
Absolutely. And that was the other thing I was going to touch on, sort of the difference with online versus sort of a telephone broker, like ourselves. I mean, we do have online as well, so it's really sort of the best of both worlds. It is personal preference. Some people, are happy just doing completely online, which is great. It's fast, it's easy, especially sort of for your small payments. It's a perfect sort of solution. But the other thing to bear in mind with telephone, and as we've covered, it is quite stressful moving country. It was stressful for me when I moved house, and it's in the same country. So I can only imagine how stressful it must be for people. So it's just one less thing to worry about. And as Carl said, there's always someone at the end of the telephone to speak to you. Real people, as Carl would say, and often that in itself is, one of the main benefits, that you can always speak to someone. If you're talking about sort of, say for example, as I said, our main goal is to save you money. Say the rate's the same, you're actually getting more for your money, because you're getting a very good rate, but also you're getting that extra guidance. As we've touched on, the rates are constantly moving. Speak to us now, consider, is it something I need to be doing before I move country? And that gentleman we spoke about probably would have benefited from moving his money before he moved country, because the rate moved against him. Said, no one's got a crystal ball. We don't know that's necessarily going to happen, but it is, again, just working with you in your situation to help you buy at the right time. And there are other tools which I've covered on other shows as well, that we can fix rates for future payments as well. So there's a lot more options available, and especially if you give yourself more time. But I think the other thing as well is that it's sometimes just the little things that you don't necessarily think about until you come to actually do the international payments yourself. And I know that speaking to some customers that have made payments online, they're something like, oh yes, I experienced that. And it's not until you're actually ready to do it that you do. So for example, some of the things, it's just a case of, you're dealing with an international bank account. The details look completely different from your home bank account.
Yes.
Have I got the details right? Am I putting them in the right
oh yes.
Have I missed the detail out? Are they correct? We make sure we double check that those details are, we talk you through that. And worst case for you, you're doing it online yourself, you're not sure what to do, you get it wrong, and then it goes off to some different bank.
Somebody very happy on the other side of the world.
Well, someone will be. And it's just little things like that when you come to do that, you're not sure. I mean, I myself, I sent helped my auntie send a small amount to Australia, and I'd not dealt with personally Australian bank account details before. This was a few years ago, and I was double checking with the back office team, is this right? Is this, because it looks completely different. Have I got it in the right field on the online system? And you just want that guidance, don't you, of kind of making sure especially, bear in mind, as I said this morning, but if you're transferring a large sum of money, 500,000, you're buying 500,000 euros.
Yeah,
you want to make sure that bank account.
You want to make sure that IBAN number is absolutely right. I mean, what is it with IBAN numbers? Is it every sort of, is it like the alphabet, like 26 numbers or something? It's quite extraordinary, isn't it? When you're used to a sort code and account in the UK, for example, it's pretty similar in America as well. And you come to Europe and the IBAN thing is humongous. And it is, yes, it can be a bit nervy, can't it? Making sure that that's right. So yes,
absolutely. As I said, even if you have got it right, it's still, I imagine, a little bit nervy when you're talking
about
the kind of sums.
Yes.
And the other thing as well is when you start making larger transfers, you will need, there are sort of AML checks that go on in the background. You will need to provide some documentation because of the sort of size of amounts that you're transferring, and make sure you're doing compliance checks. So often you'll find that with online that you can set up, it goes very quickly, but then you need to do that at the end. But obviously, if you've got a deadline and you need to make that payment might be stopped and delayed because you need to suddenly provide documents that you weren't aware of. So we just make sure that we have everything set up in the beginning. We talk you through it. We will help you make sure you're getting the right documentation you need. Everybody's different. Sometimes often it's very straightforward. Depends on people's situations. If it's a little bit more difficult, again, it's just you've got someone to speak to and help you sort through that, so that we've got everything in place. And your money can go out smoothly and on time as well. And it's a
beautiful question for you. You might think it would be a question about currency transfer, money transfer, but it's actually about Scotland. When I asked about hiking in the Isle of Skye, you might know the answer to this from Khadija Anderson up in the north of Portugal. Actually, I was told by some Scots that May was the best hiking time due to some of the jet streams or something. I think you know a little bit about this, Sarah. Is that right?
I know. I don't know about sort of times of the year, but certainly, that side is sort of obviously the west coast where we were, sort of the islands. You do get that jet stream. There's some botanical gardens that are just down the road from where we're staying that they're growing palm trees and plants that you only see in South America, for example, because it's on the Gulf Stream. So yes, I imagine that obviously, yes, you're benefiting from that nicer weather. Unfortunately, I don't know what time of year it's
you want to be there. You want to be there, don't you, to avoid midges? which is a very different problem to mosquitoes. These things can make a holiday in Scotland quite difficult in the Highlands. So be careful to find the best months where midges aren't going to attack you every time you step out of your tent, hotel or car or whatever. BNL Chase, back to you guys. Fortunately, every US bank doesn't require that. So you don't have to just pop back to America, but just check that you don't, importantly. Morning, Sarah and Carl. Misty and cool at 6 a.m, but now it's hot and humid. I beat you to it, Pete. I was up at 5:15 this morning. I hope you're having a great morning. We are indeed, Pete. Hope you are too. Andy, question. SEPA, that's the single European payment malarkey, isn't it? A good option between UK and Europe. And is there a limit? Do you know about that, Sarah?
Yes, it's just basically there's different types of payments, and it just goes at different speeds. So it will just go faster depending on how you send it. But yeah, that's good. Limit. There's no limit.
Okay, excellent. Thunderduck's checking that. I mean, we do it once a month when you come on, but Thunderduck's on several times a day. And it's important to, isn't it, when you're talking about big amounts of money? Are there any American banks or brokerages that you find easier to work with than others? That's a great question from Jeff. Have you got any favorites over there?
Honestly, it varies. We had an instance where, for example, there was a customer who made a transfer from their US bank, and that was fine. But then they have got some money in a brokerage or some sort of investment account, and they couldn't move it from there. They couldn't do an international transfer. So all they did was they moved it from that to their US bank account, and they made the payment. So that was fine. We can always do tests, sort of send you $1 or $10, do a small test. But we haven't got a definitive list, but we can kind of maybe go through that. There are some banks, but it just depends. It varies. Yeah,
and it will depend on the personnel, won't it? I mean, that's what I find. You can make a recommendation about a bank, can't you? Then you get an awkward person working in it. So yeah, it's a combination of the two.
Well, it's not just that; it's experience. I've had customers that go into their branch, and it's a well-known branch. Bank that we know can make the international payments. They go into this branch in a small sort of town, and the person that's serving them, it's not that they're difficult, it's just they've never done it before and they don't know how to do it.
And it'd be quite
if they don't know how to do it, how are they going to do it?
In a little town, somebody walks in and says, "Yes, I need to transfer 500,000 euros to Europe, please." Oh, I'm not done that. Pete has done 500k, funnily enough, through Wise. Very happy with that and quick. Checks are pretty straightforward. You mentioned AML, anti-money laundering, of course. But interestingly, Thunderduck asked the question, how did your fees compare to Wise? Which is a great question, of course.
Absolutely. As I said, with everything, everyone's situation is different. So we can only go off examples that we've had from customers that have had issues in the past. And some people it's straightforward, which is absolutely fantastic. And as far as the rates, we're very competitive, and we can price much or do better than Wise. It is a sort of, it's a psychological thing. I always think certainly with someone like Wise, it's just sort of the other way around. So the rates would seem better, but then they've got the larger transfer fees. So they're just basically charging you more on the transfer fees than actually the rate, whereas we don't charge any transfer fees, and it's the rate. So it often can work very similar, but it's just a different way around. Does that make sense?
It does indeed. Yep, Thunderduck, there you go. Answer to your question. Matthias is here this morning. Transferring money from another EU country can be done with a simple online banking account. Of course, if it's all in EU euros, that's no good for Spartan FX, is it? And that's the problem with this convergence of currencies. But so, yes, you could just be transferring euros, no problem there, Matthias. Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. Unless there's anything else you wish to add. Somebody's saying here that the Bitcoin came along to solve this problem. Be patient. I wonder how long that's going to take, and how seriously the money world is feeling the effect or the potential of the blockchain. But that's from Portugal.
I think there's a couple of things. One is obviously, it needs probably to be regulated. I've spoken to sort of estate agents, people dealing with property, and there's been customers that have either tried to pay with Bitcoin or they're trying to get a mortgage, and the source of funds is from Bitcoin. So they've sold it and they've made their money through that. And some sort of mortgage brokers and banks are not happy with that. They're not willing to accept that. It varies, obviously, but I think it's probably around sort of, as I said, the regulation behind that. And obviously things will need to change so that you could buy it through Bitcoin. But you're right, we're not there yet.
A matter of time, and be patient, says from Portugal. The conversation about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and the blockchain rages on with strong opinions. Sarah, thank you so much from Spartan FX this morning. If you do want to reach out, say hi, make friends with Ben or Sarah there, spartanfx.co.uk. Have a great day. Love to Ben.
I will do. Thank you, and hopefully I'll speak to you all soon. Please.
Okay, judge out for now. See you. There goes Sarah Davey from Spartan FX. Yeah, spartanfx.co.uk. I'm meant to have a guest coming in soon from Scoundrels Distillery. As soon as I say that, Travis appears in the green room, and hopefully he's brought his own gin, because the hospitality in the green room is terrible. There should be canapes. There should be look, he brought his own gin. That's fantastic. We'll talk to you in just a moment, Travis. Really looking forward to that. Gin made here in Portugal. A few more comments to cover as well, but before I would do that, I just want to let you know the fire in Monchique is under control, and the most extraordinary picture that emerged, thanks to Safe Communities Portugal, there it is. That's the racetrack, isn't it, down there in the Algarve? And I imagine that's from one of the firefighting aircraft, helicopter, or an airplane that was dousing the flames. And I can tell you, if I go to Safe Communities Portugal, our thanks, they say, obviously, to the bombeiros there. Rural fire at Tojeiro, Marmalet, Monchique concluded with the fire remaining at a conclusion state following the brief reignition yesterday evening. A good time to thank all those involved in dealing with this fire. God bless you, bombeiros. It broke out on the 17th of July and involved the deployment of over 400 operatives and up to 9 aircraft helicopters. Certainly a major incident, which is now under control. Thanks to Safe Communities Portugal for that. What an extraordinary picture. Whilst we've got pictures up, let's have a look at this. This is Paul taunting me, not only with a bottle of wine, knowing that I'm not drinking for a year, but with a wild boar in it. No sympathy for me from him after... Well, I described it as being chased by a wild boar. It didn't quite escalate to that, but I did a terrifying experience in the valley with some wild boar the other night. Enough about my problems. Let's drink gin. Not right now. Drink responsibly, everybody. Travis Cunningham is here from Scoundrels Distillery. Good morning to you.
Hey, Carl. How are you, man?
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm sorry. I was running a bit late. I was looking at 3 different clocks and I was watching the wrong one. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, the clocks in our house are a bit like that. Take your pick, really. So tell us, Scoundrels Distillery, what's the story?
Okay, so we opened a soft opening last month, and thanks to COVID, it's been a very soft opening. It's been a lot softer than what we expected, but it's been good. I mean, we've probably learned a lot in the last few weeks, especially with, I guess, how we handle guests coming in, and we've just opened a gallery here as well called Art Space, which we're sponsoring by Invicta Gin. It's been interesting, Carl. I mean, I came to Portugal having never built a distillery, never having run a distillery, don't speak the language, So the cards were stacked against me from the beginning, but what we've built is beautiful, and it works. Better than that, it actually works. So,
remarkable.
Produce some amazing gin. We did about 130 trials in total on a 1.5 litre still, and we got that down to 3 that now we're selling. We've got a Navy strength gin, which is 57% alcohol, a Portuguese citrus, and an international dry, which is like a London dry, but our spin is international because of the travels that we've done before we came to Portugal.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Did you say Navy strength? Is that a thing?
Navy strength, yeah. It's based on the British Royal Navy. They had a rule that alcohol had to be over a certain percentage of alcohol by volume, because if it did get spilt onto the gunpowder could still be used.
Yeah. What a brilliant standard to have, used to this day. That's incredible. And there it is. I mean, this is an incredible story then. You came to Portugal, you hadn't done anything like this, and there it is. I mean, that's a thing of beauty. You've got a gallery as well. You've got this wonderful range. Why did you come to Portugal in the first place, may I ask?
Well, I guess the short answer is port barrels. So when the idea came up, I guess the original idea of making alcohol came up in the Middle East. Let's call it the Kingdom, because we don't want to offend anybody, but there's a place called the Kingdom in the Middle East. I learned how to brew beer there and make wine, and my silent business partner has some diplomatic ties, and anyway, we did what we did, and then we had this idea that we were going to open a brewery at some point, and then in 2015, a group of us, of expats that we all made friends in Mongolia, spent Christmas, New Year in Cape Town, and I was tasked with the job of finding a local rum to make Dark and Stormies by a British mate, and I came up empty. I couldn't find a locally made South African rum. There is one now, but I couldn't find one at the time, and I rang Jim and said, I think we should open a distillery and we should make rum. Cool. And then it was like, where do we do it? So we ended up shortlisting lots of places, and it had to be somewhere that had barrels because we wanted oak barrels that we could use to age spirit. And my wife and I had watched a long, I don't know what you call it, like an infomercial, like a long tourism commercial on Portugal many, many years ago, and thought one day we should go there because it looks like a really cool place. And then we thought, port barrels. So we came to Porto and had a look for about 2 days, and then made the decision to move here back in 2017.
Well, you just loved it.
Yeah, just fell in love with the place. We went to Lisbon first, and then we came up here, and it's just it's something magical, Porto. So that's why we made the decision.
Incredible. Yeah. A few hellos from people. Any questions for Travis, pop them in the comments. Bon dia to all you lovely people. It's so hot here in the UK. I'm thinking of traveling to Portugal to cool down. Very funny. You don't often get a chance to say that, but make the most of it.
You don't. That's true. No. Heat wave in the UK.
It's true, and warnings, because people just don't know what to do with it, as I was saying to Sarah just now. BNL Chase Man Cave is still alive, and I host on this YouTube channel Portugal. So I think the gin distillery there is a man cave outing, isn't it, at some point? Sounds amazing.
Yeah, for sure. It's also like we've got a gin school here too, Carl, so people can actually come and make their own gin. And it's a great experience. It goes for 3 hours, and they learn about botanicals and the art of distillation, and then walk out with a bottle of gin that they made themselves.
Really, that sounds like a very amazing experience. And juniper berries do get hurt in that process.
They do. They definitely get hurt. They get boiled.
Okay.
You can't say that there's no juniper berries harmed in this experience, because they are. Yeah.
Well, there's a man cave who might join you on that invitation. Stephen Wells, good morning to you. Bon dia as well from Khadija Anderson. Need more tea.
A gin and tea. Yeah, that's true.
Notes/tires for me. Oh, that's good. Okay, he was just joking earlier on. That's before you came on. Nothing to worry about there, Travis. Good morning from a hot Dubai from Rashid there. Elsa is here. Dia Toros from the UK. Gemini's here as well. Good morning, everyone. I whistle away at your opening tune. Thank you, Declan. So do I, actually. Let's have a look. Who else is here this morning? Mr. Jazzy Arts is here. Good morning from Tampa, Florida. Isn't that great? We've got so many people here who I think are going to put you on their list of things to do once they get to
Once they get here. That'll be good.
Yeah. India.
I didn't even dress myself properly this morning, Carl. Sorry. There we go.
I don't know what a gin dress is like. You could say that's the official outfit. That's fine.
Yeah. Normally, a hat and a T-shirt. Yeah. That would be better. Yeah.
and some shorts and some flip-flops, I guess. How to cope with hot weather at 28. We have 42 degrees in India at the moment from Manwajit Singh there. Dominique's here as well. Good morning to you, Dominique Kaur. Pam Smith from Alcabasa. Thunder Duck is here too. Lots of lovely people queuing up to say hello this morning. Who else is here? Deborah Davies. She sounds like she's been on the gin already. Ha ha. I sing boop, 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 boop. So very good. Fiona and Simon, very useful information. We're gonna double down on that. You got information about money, information about gin coming your way right now, of course. Who else is here? Mark Rigby, a bit further north from you in Povoa de Varzim on Portugal.
Nice place.
Beautiful green coast, yeah. Joel's here as well in Matosinhos, not far from you too. Lots of lovely folks from Portugal. Good morning as a scout. I should say that no matter what the weather, it's always a good time to go hiking outside. Dib, dib, dib is what we have to say to you.
Dob. Yeah.
Yes. A scout, were we?
I was.
Fantastic. I love gin. So first self-outing there. We'll definitely try yours once I arrive in Portugal. I like the new clips in the opening. Way to keep it fresh. Absolutely. Amazing. So which bit of Porto are you in there? So people can make this part of the port and gin tour now?
No, we're just up from the Douro, but we're actually in an area of Campania. So near Estadio de Dragão, near FC Porto Stadium.
Okay.
So we're in this new pocket, which is undergoing a revitalisation agenda because of the town hall. So there's the old Matadouro, which is the old slaughterhouse. That's undergoing a redevelopment that will start in September, and there's I think it's about a 50 or 60 million euro project to develop a new arts precinct for Porto.
Yeah.
We're not far from Estadio de Dragão and very close to Campania Station.
Okay, that's very interesting. That sort of regeneration that's going on around there.
Yeah.
Martin's going to put you on his list as well, coming over from Singapore at some point. Jim White from Baltimore. Gin School, sign me up. So, and as you
absolutely,
heard,
Fiona, definitely.
Yeah. So with this thing, this is Consumer Tuesday. We're talking about gin consumption, but also we talk about money and business. How helpful have you found the Portuguese authority within this regeneration atmosphere that's going on?
You're breaking up, Carl. No, I'm joking. No, it's been a challenge. It has. I mean, I don't think. Not speaking Portuguese or having very, very limited Portuguese doesn't help. But it's not an easy system. I mean, going through the process of actually licensing a distillery, I couldn't have done it without a friend of mine, Didi. He helped me navigate the process. Probably the biggest challenge I've had is that because of the way the digital key works, because I'm not a citizen, I don't have a citizen's card, and most, if not all, applications are managed online now, and during COVID even more so, because you can't actually go and have a face-to-face appointment with anyone. So that's been really hard because the systems are designed for online access, but they're not designed for residents. They're only designed for citizens. Okay. So I found that really challenging. Yeah, sure. It's been really tough. And it took us 7 months to get a gas connection. For a house, I can understand that. But for a commercial business putting in an application, especially when it runs past the front door, it was a connection of maybe 1.5 feet. It had to go from the gas pipe to join to the building. Yeah, that was the stuff that was a real struggle. But,
I bet. I imagine you felt like doing that yourself, didn't you? When you could see how easy it was.
That was the one thing I didn't do myself, because in the end, I built pretty much everything that's here. I built with my own hands and with the support of family and friends. Yeah, there were probably about 20 people in total that helped physically. We took out 6 ton of concrete. We built walls. We tiled, electrics, plumbing. Carpentry work a lot. Yeah. So it's a real I'm really proud of it, because I had a vision of what it was going to look like when we came into the space for the first time, and what we've built. That's the one straight wall in Portugal, by the way, Carl, that black one. For those that have renovated a house here or renovated a building, straight walls are pretty hard to find.
Yes, well done.
That is a straight wall. I can
another reason to visit and marvel.
Yeah, absolutely. Come and marvel at the straight wall. Yeah.
The only one.
So it's been interesting. We've got the city town hall are visiting today with the media and comms team, because they see this as a really great way to actually show this is part of the revitalisation of the area. Yeah. They've been supportive in that way. There's not a lot that I guess local government or the town hall or municipality can do. But what they are doing now is actually getting behind us and supporting us with launching our project and helping us open it up to broader Porto, because we're in an area that's probably not known as being the nicest part of Porto, but it definitely is the most beautiful as far as we're concerned in terms of location. We're located right on a park, Praça do Corregeiro, which is Park of the Owls, which is why I've got an owl behind me. It's really, really beautiful. I think when the municipality succeeds in their vision for the arts precinct down at the slaughterhouse, which is about 200 metres from here, it's going to showcase, this part of the city in a really spectacular way. Yeah. So we're like a bit ahead of the project plan, Carl, but we're here ready for people. We're open now and ready for when the masses arrive.
Well, let's support Travis and Scoundrels. I want to talk to you about the dog logo in a moment. We've got more comments coming in. Bon dia from Donna. We have a lot of gin drinkers.
Oh, nice.
Sarah Azores, who would love to try your gin. So you'll be exporting all over the world, including the Azores, I hope.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're just talking to shipping companies at the moment and freight companies. There's certain places we can't ship to, but one of the reasons for Portugal as well was because it allowed us to access the EU. We looked at Australia and we looked at South Africa and other parts of the world, and it just, this was the most obvious place in terms of location, because it actually gives us a trading block that we can export to really easily.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you were just saying, I'm sorry to hear that it's been a bit of an uphill struggle. And presumably the town hall are turning up today to take some of the credit now.
No, not at all. No. I mean, I think they're not. I mean, there was not a lot they could do. And I think with COVID, it made it incredibly challenging to actually get stuff done, because their office was closed and you could only do stuff via the phone, and that's just the way it is.
Okay, fair enough.
Nowhere's easy. I've lived in Central Asia, West Africa, the Middle East. Everywhere's a challenge. Nothing's a given. Because if it was easy, Carl, everybody would do it. And
Exactly. And you sound like the sort of fellow who doesn't give up. Scoundrel, I believe gin is keto friendly. Sign me up.
Okay. So I guess so.
Another angle for the market.
Vegan, gluten-free, keto, absolutely. All of the above.
Good. Excellent. Travis sounds just like Russell Crowe. Was he from round your way? Asked Gary in Central.
Well, down south, the Antipodes, because he's New Zealander. He's a Kiwi.
Oh, whoops! There you go.
We claim him as an Australian, but
and perhaps you might say for us before you go, what we do in life echoes throughout eternity, as whatever he was called, Maximus Erectus. I don't know I can't remember what his name was in Gladiator. It's an easy way for the corrupt politician, for sure. Another cynical view to add to mine there, but your woes mainly due to the pandemic, it would seem. Even in our apartment, walls are straightish. If there's a straight wall, this is pure Portuguese cynicism coming from Joel here. If there's a straight wall anywhere in Porto, I'll be very surprised. Go check it out for yourself.
There is. I just showed you the black. There it is. The black wall. Bring your spirit level.
Let's show him again. Joel, there it is. Go look and take your friends. Apparently, a non-Portuguese resident can obtain a chave móvel digital, an online digital key.
You can, Mark. You can, but it doesn't access all of the systems.
Yeah, the hardcore levels of getting an alcohol license presumably are reserved for the citizens. What an inspiring journey, Travis! Absolutely. And there's a story to tell there. Maybe Russell Crowe will be in the movie of the story of this. The Straight Wall of Porto, right up there with the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yeah,
yes,
that's true. Yeah.
So many angles here. We'll be visiting you in August. You're being added to lists here, Travis, I'm glad to say.
Excellent.
Pippa Young, I don't think the wall will look straight when you leave a gin school session.
I can attest to that, Pippa. Definitely doesn't look straight when you leave here.
Brilliant. Nubianette says, I'm not sure if it's strictly keto, but the body breaks it down differently than sugar. I know it's easy on my system. So many gin drinkers breaking cover here.
Yeah.
Depends what you call nice. Definitely, there's less favourite places everywhere, and Porto has a couple. This is a Matosinhos native here. Travis, if you get to know a good customs broker, please can you pass on the details to me? I had a nightmare trying to find one this end. That's a very specialist question. Can you help with that?
Not really. I can help you find one, Peter, because I've managed to find anything that, if you look hard enough, you can find stuff. So I can give you a hand. Just send me an email via the website. And
there you go. Or better still, go and buy some bottles of gin and have a chat about it.
Definitely.
The straightness of a wall is, I think it was probably Socrates who said this, the straightness of a wall is directly proportionate to the amount of wine I've consumed. That was a Socrates quote, or Gandhi. Medicinal, with tonic, keeps the mozzies away. So many benefits this morning.
Many.
Yeah, and apologies for the Antipodean mix-up there. Spirit level, there's a spirit level joke in there, of course. Paul Richards, whoops, I'm late. Sorry, greetings from San Rafael and Algarve. Last 2 days in the Algarve, next Harrogate, Yorkshire, but not for long. Okay, so you could take Coles to Newcastle or gin to Yorkshire if you pop in on the way through. Andrew, remember going to India 3 decades ago? Could get hold of gin, but nowhere sold tonic water. Had to make it up with powdered quinine. My goodness,
wow, you're old, Peter. Wow.
It must be gin o'clock somewhere.
It's always gin o'clock somewhere.
It's always gin o'clock at Scoundrels. Why the dog then? Is that a dog called Scoundrel from the family?
No, it is. It's based on our dog 11. He's a Portuguese water dog. So it's modelled partially on him.
Right.
And I always wanted a dog as a logo for a distillery because everybody loves dogs. And I work on the basis that even those people that say they don't really do.
Yeah.
And Scoundrels is actually from George Bernard Shaw, the All Men Over 40 are Scoundrels, and we thought that was quite apt. So
yes,
that's why it's Scoundrels. It's not easy for everybody to say, but it's a good word.
Yes, that's interesting. You have a lot of fun with people trying to say the name of your company. So tell us about this gin flight. This is one of the range of experiences people can have with you. What goes on here at a gin flight?
Well, it really showcases the 3 gins that we make. So what people can do is actually taste it neat or with tonic if they choose. So we just serve it with. We don't garnish. We tend not to garnish our drinks because we want our own, our botanical flavors to shine and not get it mixed up with with citrus peel or juniper berries or pink peppercorns or anything else that people put in. If people want to do that at home, we totally endorse that. But when we do a tasting here, we let people taste the spirit for what it is, and often we let people taste it neat first, and then if they wish, they can mix it with some tonic.
Yeah. Oh, incredible. I like that. Yeah, pink peppercorns. Because, I mean, you must see some highly pretentious things going on, and you're obviously keeping it simple so that people can really, really taste the gin. Sorry, you've done this before, but Nubianet does want to know what types of gin do you have?
So we've got a dry gin, which is based on a London dry, but we've called it international dry because we lived and worked in a lot of places before we came here. And we also see gin as being an international drink because if it wasn't for the Portuguese and the age of discovery, we probably would have never had gin. But I guess the fight over Asian spices and the British and the Dutch and the Spanish, Geneva actually came, from those spice wars in a way. Yeah. Okay. So we have to thank the Portuguese for gin, really, and it's cool.
Among so many other things.
Absolutely.
Add gin to that list. Fantastic.
Yeah. And then we've got a Portuguese citrus gin, which is made with 3 different types of citrus peel. So we hand peel all of the citrus ourselves. We dry it ourselves. It's pretty special, that one. And then we have a Navy strength gin. Amazing. So there are 3 at the moment, and we're partnering with a local port house fairly soon, and we're going to do a barrel rested gin as well in a port barrel. So that'll be a limited release. And then we're making rum fairly soon. I came here to make rum. That's really what the agenda is and was, but because of certain delays, we haven't actually got anything down fermenting yet. But we spent a lot of time on getting these gins right because we wanted to make sure that what we were serving up was one, we liked it, but 2, that it would hold its own against anything else on the market. And we don't think it holds its own. We think it exceeds what's in the market at the moment. But that's only our personal choice. I had a friend who's a distiller here last week, and he told me that our gins were fantastic, but not as good as his. And I said, well, that's okay because yours are not as good as mine. so yeah, I guess there's a bit of rivalry going on in the gin world in Portugal. But
hopefully, yes, it's all good, isn't it? Cheers, Travis. Definitely going to do a visit. Thanks so much for the help in advance there from Pete. So hopefully you'll increase your network for shipping around the world. When people get this home for the first time, just finally here, Travis, what would you recommend? We've talked, you talked about serving suggestions and what you do on the gin flight and so on. But what is the classic serving then, as far as you're concerned, when for the first time people try your product at home? What would you recommend and suggest?
I think it's up to the individual. Carl. I think that, look, a lot of people like a gin and tonic. We tend to say don't put as much tonic in, because you tend to mask the flavors of the botanicals that are actually in the gin. So, often we'd say just put a little bit less in. Our citrus gin is a sipping gin, so you can just drink it neat on ice. It's 42%, maybe with a dash of soda. The Navy strength makes a really good Negroni as a cocktail, and you can do a dirty martini, a martini with the dry gin as well.
Okay.
But not you, because you're not drinking for a year. I did 3 months. I managed to go 3 months of not drinking. And I'm thinking about going back to it again, to be honest.
Are you? Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, so I mean, for me, I'm not anti-drink. It wasn't some.
No, me either.
Protest. No, you just need to lay off it for a bit, did you?
Yeah, no, it was more. I just had so much to do, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I love drinking. I do. I open a distillery, but sometimes there's time for focus, and I had a really good time leading up to opening the distillery. I mean, we've been here since 2017, and there's not many places in the world you can go and buy a Fino for €1 and a Bafana and go. It was like university days, $20 in your pocket, and you can go and have a great time. So I did a lot of that. So,
you came
back with 15, exactly. Yeah.
Superb. I can't let you go yet, because then you sparked another a conversational thread with rum here. Please make a dark rum better than Bundy. So
it's not hard to make a better rum than Bundy, because it's pretty rough. I grew up drinking Bundy rum, and I wouldn't say it's very good. It's actually not. I would say it's not very good. So our plan is to make a white rum, a spiced rum, and an aged rum. And we're talking to a distillery in Madeira at the moment about doing a combination of their rum and our rum, and doing a crossover between a Madeira and mainland rum, and selling it under the Scoundrels brand.
Oh, superb. Okay,
and probably the last thing I'll say, Carl, is on that we're actually looking to do a barrel offer for people too in the future, so people can actually buy their own barrel of rum, a 30 litre, and we'll put it in our bonded warehouse and let it age, and then it's their own, and we can bottle it for them as well in the future. So if people are interested in gin and rum, please come and see us.
So the ideal present for any sort of truly truly thoughtful grandparents, when their grandchild is born, just to get that bottle of rum in the bonded warehouse, ready for when the grandchild.
A cask, a barrel of rum.
There you go. Thanks, Grandad. Thanks, Grandad. What a thoughtful gift.
Yes.
Spiced rum, says Andy. What's the time frame, if you will, for the rum production, please?
Well, the first fermentation is starting this weekend, so we'll have something probably within the next 3 months for a spiced, and like the other stuff, it depends on how long we want to age it for. It could be 2 years, it could be 3, but let's see.
All right, I love the rum part of Travis's story. Looking forward to tasting them. You've sparked so many comments. I think you've got to go and get ready for the town hall coming in. It's just so good to speak to you. I'd love it. Come back whenever you want and to talk about.
Yeah, so I'd love to, mate. Definitely. Yeah, and we could do one from here. Do a podcast do one live from the distillery.
There's an invitation I can't turn down. That's fantastic. Lovely to talk to you. All the best with it.
Thanks, Carl. Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Bye for now. There he goes. Oh, so cut him off there. It did sound a lot like Russell Crowe, and I think Russell Crowe should play Travis in the movie of Scoundrels coming. That's a good name for a movie, isn't it? Scoundrels. It's a franchise. Scoundrels 1, Scoundrels 2. The gin film, the rum film. Let's see what you're saying here. Kraken rum is tops for me. I'm sure Travis would have had something to say about that. Barrel. What's this one saying? Barrel sounds like a man cave. Like a bulk buy, a community buy. They could put their names on that, couldn't they? The man cave, and have their aging barrel and go and drink it one weekend dressed up as pirates in Porto. What could possibly go wrong? Nubianet says, I have a barrel aged gin from Denmark. I haven't opened it yet. The things people have. What else? A spiced rum would be lovely for the colder weather. Absolutely. As it turns to autumn and winter in Porto, in Portugal, what a lovely drink to have. First gin using a sugar wash and juniper berries, star anise, coriander, dried lemon, and orange and pomegranate. And no pink peppercorns. Dark rum, love making a coconut rum. So Nigel Henry sounds like he might be a visitor and a bit of a dabbler himself there. Who else is here and chatting in the comments this morning? A simple cheers from Thunderduck there. Let's go back to this mystery item, which I think we've solved this. Navy strength is 114 proof, says Thunderduck. I hope that's correct. This was the thing. Only one person guessed it, and I think it's right what they say. Stephen Wells, you say, what did you describe it as, strictly speaking? If I just give you a little bit of a view of that, put it up on Facebook, and got some very silly guesses as to what it was. And now you mention it, Stephen, I think you're absolutely right. It's the pin, isn't it, that goes into the back of a pickup, the bit that comes down on the back of a pickup truck that can cause terrible injuries to people standing in the way. This is a bit on the chain, isn't it, that slips in there? And we did find it on a country road. So I think the mystery has been solved there. Folks, thank you so much for your company this morning. Thank you to Sarah Davey of Spartan FX. Thanks to Travis Cunningham of Scoundrels Gin and soon to be Rum. Looks like a key, a crack pipe. It is a hitch pin. Yes, it's not a crack pipe. How would I explain that to my 9-year-old son who wanted to know what it was? It is that's the official name for it, a hitch pin. It's a lovely bit of engineering, I have to say. Very beautiful. So we'll see you tomorrow for an outing of Ask Anything About Portugal, hashtag AAAP. And ordinarily, I think on the 3rd, it's me on my own. But should we see if Gary Austin wants to join us tomorrow? Who says he's given up, well, he's cut back on his drinking. He's only drinking with one hand. More jokes, dad jokes of that kind, if we can get him on the show tomorrow. Gary, you up for it? Maybe see you tomorrow, but I'll certainly be here. And I'll see you then for Ask Anything About Portugal. All the best to you. Have a fabulous day. Take care and bye for now. Abraços, beijinhos.